Similarities in delivery driving in Death Stranding. Introduction. If there's one thing that we know, Hideo Kojima is a genius. We all know this from playing famous games like Metal Gear Solid, Zone of the Enders and anything he worked on such as PT. But let's take a chance to dive deep in understanding the resemblances on just the surface level of delivering in Death Stranding. I will be talking about the resemblances, similarities, and downright nods to our current situation in the ground delivery system. We have all become too familiar with via ordering something yourself or being cut off by a courier truck. After taking a deep plunge in the culinary industry for roughly 12 years, getting my hands dirty, learning valuable culinary skills, I decided during COVID-19 lockdowns to become a package courier and hang up my apron, probably for good. In this video, I will do my best not to mention any specific company I may have worked for, due to the fact that I am currently there today and I thoroughly enjoy the job. During my time of performing this job, I have seen the ins and outs of what it requires to be a delivery driver. Knowing Kojima, and the past researches he did to get sound design and the lengths his team went to make Metal Gear Solid 4 and possibly any other Metal Gear Solid game, my guess he probably interviewed or had a team interview delivery drivers. These drivers probably explained the basic day-to-day routine of their lives. When I started delivery driving, Death Stranding had been released. For well over 2 months I did not have a PS4 and I really wanted to play it considering how much of a fan I am of the Kojima games. I was fortunate enough with the money we got from the government. I used my stimulus to purchase a gaming PC shortly after that Death Stranding was announced for a PC port. I was extremely excited because I had lucked out, and I finally get to play this misunderstood masterpiece. After having delivery drove for almost half a year by now, delivering through lockdown during COVID, I booted up the game right off the bat. I noticed just how barren the game feels. You were alone, stranded, no one out there but you and the environment and your will to make the delivery. The similarities. Of course, a lot of you know that there are multiple companies that deliver packages to your home, but what you might not have realized not being a delivery driver yourself are the very deep similarities to Death Stranding. There's a lot, so I'm gonna briefly touch the small ones and hit more with the big ones. The people. I want to first start off with the people you deliver to. So during COVID everyone was on lockdown in their house working from home. I was delivering to these people's front doors, leaving packages, sometimes hearing a thank you from behind the door or a wave as they were leaving or coming home. They would sometimes even thank me and tell me they were happy with everything I do. Occasionally you would get the grumpy person, and I still do, but every now and then there's that person that goes the extra mile and thank you for your service, just like all the standard deliveries. And in Death Stranding, I know this isn't a huge deal, but it's definitely a good one to start with. I would think that the humanoid-style BTs are representations of angry customers, but I don't know, that's a bit far-fetched. They could definitely be as ruthless, if you know what I'm saying. Monster Energy Drink. The reason Monster Energy Drink is in the game from a logistic standpoint is beyond my understanding, but I can't say that Monster Energy Drink was my personal lifeline to hydration and energy almost every morning. My guess is Kojima or somebody on his team interviewed a delivery driver who probably stated that it was the nectar of the gods, and possibly multiple drivers told them that. Regardless, I think it's funny and pretty meme-worthy. Public urination and the emphasis on keeping said bodily fluids in a container to use as a weapon. I'm not gonna say that I have pissed on the ground and watched a mushroom arise from it only to look left and see 20 more mushrooms along with a really big one with the username YOLO420 swag balls floating above it. But what I will say is, when you're out driving for 12 hours, sometimes you've got to piss. That being said, there have been times that I have urinated in the seclusion of prying eyes. There have been times when I'm in public, have to jump in the back of my truck with an empty bottle from a drink I have consumed to relieve myself, only to keep it in my backpack to dispose of it at the end of the day. I have never made a public POO. To do this will be very shameful and is something I'm not willing to do. Timefall. I don't need to really go into this too much, but rain just flat out blows. You're moving so much that you get drenched and all your packages get soaked the longer you take, just like in the game. However, it does not speed up your aging process, it only causes driving to be a little harder, and you become a little more pissed off. But as far as it only damaging the container of the actual item, i.e. the box, yeah, you definitely gotta watch out for that, and there's definitely not a repair spray to get your package looking back to 100%. The floating carrier. The floating carrier is resemblant to that of a dolly you would use to carry heavy loads to save your back, and trust me, people order a lot of heavy stuff. Some companies will package dog food and cat litter, and let me tell ya, that shit ain't light. Bridge baby. BB obviously represents the scanner used to scan packages. It is reminiscent of you having to charge your scanner with this weird charger that looks strangely like an umbilical cord, and the thing is pretty much like your baby. If you don't take care of it, charge it, make sure it doesn't fall, and crack the screen, your day out in the world delivering is a lot easier. I will now try to speed through some of the minor details I've noticed. The dog BT that Higgs summons to fight you at about close to the halfway marker in the game is reminiscent of dogs that aren't inside or leashed up, and considering there's some of the most damaging enemies in the game, I would say that's pretty spot on. Mules represent package pirates, people that drive around looking like us delivery drivers just to steal the packages. I haven't personally got in a fist fight with a IRL mule, but if I saw one I might call the police. Not really sure what the deal with the whales is 100%, but I do know that a lot of the carbon emissions and pollution to make this cardboard packaging is probably not good for the environment, or it could be a pretty intense stab at the whaling industry. And even though the distro centers look like whales, the insides of the terminals we get dispatched from look pretty similar, with conveyor belts and metal everywhere. As far as I know, I do believe that someone has used the postal industry to carry out dubious acts of terrorism before, which is why my packages would sometimes get x-rayed when I went into federal buildings and such. This reminds me of Fragile and her beef with Higgs. But the final and most important representation of all I've seen in the game. It's probably the online system, or when you are out delivering, you will find signs that are useful, items people have left behind make your job easier. Sometimes the company I work for has sent me out in other people's trucks. I found helpful scribblings on the window visor to guide me along the path. I can see where other people have been and where to take the package. We connected. America. We did. Not just me. Well, I hope this has uncovered another strand to a very tangled game that people will probably be analyzing for the next years to come. If they make a sequel, the people who analyze this game have their work cut out for them, because Hideo Kojima doesn't fuck around, and when it comes to very deep storytelling, he's a particle of God. Keep up the good work, gamers. If you liked this, leave a like or something. I hope this was informative.